Welcome. I'm Lani Madsen, and this is a reader feedback edition of Forthright. After having a column rejected covering the former Will Thomas competing as Leah Thomas in the NCAA women's swimming and diving competition, I gave that subject another try 2 weeks later from a different direction. The editor picked up on my headline, "When We Don't Have All the Words." Here it is, as first published on April 7, 2022 in the Spokesman Review. How did we devolve to a point where an intelligent, well-educated woman like Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson feels compelled to duck a simple question? "Can you provide a definition for the word woman?" asked Senator Marsha Blackburn at the judge's confirmation hearing. Jackson's coy response was ironic, given that being a woman was one of President Biden's criteria for his Supreme Court nominee. And, "No, I can't, I'm not a biologist," became viral fuel on social media. One meme shows a game warden confronting a hunter, asking why he shot a buck when he had only a cow tag. The hunter shrugs, "I'm not a biologist." Humans are classified as, quote, "male and female based on anatomic and chromosomal characteristics," end quote, according to Mosby's Dictionary of Medicine, Nursing, and Health Professions. Modern biology can delve deeply into the variations and abnormalities within each group, but it doesn't render the basic categories any less relevant to healthcare, daily life, and public policies. Females don't need prostate exams, and males don't need pap smears, regardless of alterations to more obvious anatomical characteristics. I'm not a physicist, but I can usefully divine gravity without researching Stephen Hawking's work on quantum gravitational mechanics. We have the words to distinguish between an out-of-the-ballpark home run and a rocket escaping Earth's orbit as they both disappear from view. But what if we didn't have the words? What if sportscasters were forced to call the game as if the relationship between bat, ball, and gravity required a degree in physics before making an observation of the obvious? What if journalists writing about the unfairness of a trans athlete competing in the women's division of a collegiate sport couldn't use the words biological male to describe the reason for the problem? Mainstream editors following the Associated Press stylebook require writers to refer to the problematic person as if always a woman, making it impossible to have a clear conversation. Any mention of the athlete's name for the first 2 decades of life using the appropriate gendered pronouns is called dead naming instead of history. When Title IX was signed in 1972, feminists pushed for gender-neutral language to change mindsets, holding both boys and girls back from reaching their full potential. Changing fireman to firefighter and dropping the modifier male in front of nurse were signs of progress. Now we have ultra-progressive guides for gender-neutral language pushing boundaries. What is still a good resource on how to list titles and use, or not use, the Oxford comma also sets standards for contemporary word usage as language evolves. The AP Stylebook reflects a worldview which believes human beings can change sex by changing pronouns. Its followers are allowed to use phrases like pregnant people. There's a word for that group of people. They're called mothers. Every human being on Earth was born of a woman. Woman is a good word. Twitter twits sometimes use the terms bleeders or front holers, terms I find incredibly offensive. J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter books and a master of words, calls such language hostile and alienating. In a lengthy essay on why she chooses to speak out on gender issues, Rowling writes, quote, "Woman is not a costume. Woman is not an idea in a man's head. Woman is not a pink brain, a liking for Jimmy Choos, or any of the other sexist ideas now somehow touted as progressive. Moreover, the inclusive language that calls female people menstruators and people with vulvas strikes many women as dehumanizing and demeaning," end quote. Journalists don't have to use the more ridiculous terms yet, but when they do, it's a signal of either bias or timidity in the trenches. Veterans of the first gender neutrality culture war can't help but notice the language evolution only erases women. No ugly synonyms for men are championed by the progressive mob. Ballers? Front danglers? Rowling is not timid. She has been on the receiving end of death threats after tweeting, quote, "If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth." End quote. One issue Rowling has repeatedly pointed out, as a survivor of sexual abuse, is the impact of ignoring biological differences between the sexes on the vulnerable. Some women are organizing in Washington to push back against ESHB 1956, dubbed by one irritated woman as the Don't Say Predator Bill. Passed by a progressively driven, Democrat-controlled legislature, the new law, as specifically designed, blocks attempts to protect women serving prison terms. Quote, "You can't ask how many males the women inmates are forced to share cells, showers, and living spaces with," end quote, tweeted Beth Duranciang, vice chairman of the King County Republican Party, after Governor Jay Inslee signed the bill this week. Rowling continues to speak truth. It's harder for those without her power to withstand the pressure, but it's essential to halt the devolution of society into an Orwellian future of newspeak. Now, about that reader feedback. This column generated more positive feedback than any column I've ever written. People appreciated someone saying out loud what they've been thinking, and they responded by email, text, and on social media. Like Justice Jackson, these are people who know what happens when you define woman as an adult human female. It will bring down the wrath of transgender activists. One woman wrote me this. She says, "I posted an article in a private group about a trans who regretted the surgery and pointed out the Libby Center was promoting LGBTQ on a bulletin board, which I disapproved of." She went on to say that as a result, she described how a group of vicious women, in her words, tried to get her fired from her job with a private employer. I mean, it's no wonder Justice Jackson ducked the question. We understand what she was doing. There were a number of naysayers who wrote, and let me start by saying that I agree there are people who are born intersex, and there always have been. WebMD says 1 in 1,000 babies, or about 1/10 of 1%, are born with ambiguous external features or with internal organs mismatched to the external features. But remember that, just 1/10 of 1%. My mother cared for a baby in the hospital in the 1950s who was born with 3 legs and 1 set of each external part. She said he was very sweet, only lived a few months, but was very difficult to diaper. Such abnormalities are not new, and for such children, there is a place for medical care to step in to improve the quality of their lives. That leaves 99.9% of the population establishing the male-female norm. In no other area of human life do we use the existence of 0.1% variation to eliminate the reality of the 99.9%. So among those naysayers, Pete O'Brien wrote, insisting that because UCLA biologists have identified people whose characteristics are not completely male or female, then it is correct to say that not even a biologist can define woman. And Pete, I would ask how the good folks at UCLA decided what they were studying, whether they were male or female characteristics in the first place, if they can't define male and female. It would be more accurate to say that characteristics may be found in either male or female that are human characteristics, and even when they may be found with greater frequency in one of the two sexes, there are still two sexes. Spike Cunningham complained, writing, quote, "How have we stooped so low that you would be suckered into buying into the questioning of a senator with the sole purpose of making a fiasco of a judicial hearing out of all the questions you centered on the non-question," end quote. And Spike, I disagree with your characterization of Senator Blackburn's motives, but neither one of us knows her motives. My motive was to use Justice Jackson's non-answer to a non-question to demonstrate the language problem. And the last reader feedback I'll quote is Galen Gertson. "We met for coffee a few months ago to discuss our disagreement over how masking and vaccinations were being handled. We didn't change each other's minds then, and I doubt I'll change his mind now, but I will try to respond to some of the points he raised in a long email." Galen wrote, "If we are going to find unity, we are going to need to search for common ground, but yet you continue to take the viewpoints of the most radical progressives and responding to them rather than trying to find that common ground," end quote. And I agree, I do seek unity through seeking common ground. And how do we find common ground when we are not allowed to use the words needed to express our concerns? Radical progressive voices are dominating the conversation, dominating the narrative, insisting that men can become women. That's a far cry from respecting the privacy and healthcare needs of the 0.1% of the population who are born physically intersex. We could find common ground looking at how do we best support those people. This is not about hating anyone or depriving anyone of their civil rights. Live and let live. And there's a majority of Americans who would like to be left alone to live without radical progressive voices overwhelming them. Those radical progressive voices have dominated our Democrat-controlled legislature. Where are the rational progressives objecting to men who have raped women being allowed to self-identify as women and be housed in women's prisons? We can't be silent when athletes who have gone through puberty as a male self-identify as women and then compete against women who went through puberty as females. We can't ignore how the voices pushing the transgender agenda are not focused on physical objective differences. And in the end, we need a legal definition of men and women for society to function. Men are adult human males. Women are adult human females. This isn't a debate about biology. It's about cultural stereotypes that us old school feminists worked hard to banish in the 1960s and 1970s. It's about recognizing that 99.9% of humans fit into two categories, useful categories for a healthy, functioning human society. We don't want the stereotypes back, but we want the words back. Thank you for joining me, and if you'd like to be notified of when there's new features up on my Substack page, you can subscribe for an email. Right now it's free. Later on we'll be adding a subscription-only page.
And
Have fun.
whenever you're ready to go,
Okay.
good to go.
I'm here with Morgan. And Morgan, what's your role here?
Depends on the day.
So you're flexible, is what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what's going to happen in this space. So depending on who walks up or what's going on for that, maybe doing spreadsheets, maybe doing music videos, might need an extra.
Okay, there's a story behind this.
Yes.
Tell us the story.
This
is absolutely beautiful. I mean, I've been looking, and I'm just now seeing other things in here I hadn't seen before. You can pick out things.
Oh, absolutely. So this mural here was done by artist Jeremy Rindy.
Okay.
He's a local artist here in Spokane, along with Jay Eagle, and those two just have a ton of fun, bombing walls as they call it. And this project here took over 80 hours for Jeremy and was based on one of his children asked, "Dad, what would happen if the bees died?" And he just created...
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And that's been a discussion around the world too, because of maintaining the bee population and so forth. So what great timing. Now what did the daughter say?
Well, they've been in a few times, but it was mainly like, for example, this main figure here is based off Jeremy's wife, and it's been beautiful when they come in and they pose with the different murals and things.
Fun.
And so Jeremy has done several pieces around the building, and it's just so fun to have the family in and watch them just beaming and taking all the photos. So they like it. Yeah.
What's the advantage of having so many artists doing different things, literally? Because you can do from clay to this to you name it here in this building in one place. Well, how does that create a synergy?
It's been fantastic because you've got some folks, whether they be in their private studios or in the collaborative studios, and they just walk around, whether it be to go to the bathroom or walking through to get something from Celestial
What you
Beans.
doing?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so they'll come in like, oh, well, let me see the project, or they haven't been in for a few days or maybe even weeks, and so then they get to see the progress with the other folks. But then they get to ask questions.
Okay.
And what was your inspiration for this?
Yes.
How did you get this technique over here? I haven't really thought about that. Well, let me try this. And have you been to this place? What about this gallery? Everybody just kind of feeds off each other, and it just continues.
Can the public do that too, though?
Oh, absolutely. We've had folks come in and tour, and then they'll come through the collaborative studio and see somebody working on something, and sometimes they just peek their head in, or the pottery studio. A lot of people don't want to come in and ask any questions, but no, you can come
Because
in.
they're afraid the pottery might go around and go flop flop somewhere.
That, or they just don't feel like, oh, well, I'm not an artist, I don't know. No, you can be an artist. Come on in, and that's the joy of this place, is you get to immerse yourself in the arts, even if it might not be something that you are technically sound in. If you've got a curiosity about it, you can check some things out and talk to someone.
So, if I want to come explore and see what art ability I might have, which I already know, but I would find out real quick. But how do I do that?
Well, you can.
What kind of cost is involved? I mean, what? Do you just come down and say I'm going to spend the day, or?
You can come on through. We do have a day pass if somebody would like to do art, so that's about $25 a day.
Okay.
We do have folks who are driving through or might be waiting on a flight, and then they'll stop and they'll use some of our materials and get to spend time in the studio before they travel. A lot of times folks are just coming through to see the artwork on the walls, and then they discover a new artist who's working on something in one of the studios and strike up a conversation about one of their classes. But if you follow us on social media, whether Instagram, Facebook, now Twitter, MadCollab Studios, or you go onto our website, madcollabstudios.com, you can see some of the events that are happening. But all in all, there's always something going on, Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday. We got
Do we need to call ahead?
You can call ahead if you're looking for something
if you
specific.
know when you want to go down.
Yeah, by all means. If you've got something like, we've had folks call and say that they're bringing their entire church group, or
Oh, that would be fun.
oh yeah, it's been great just to watch everybody come through. You know, I thought about bringing my art group, or I've got my grandkids in town, and I really wanted to see this space. Nope, come on down. We might have filming going on. You just never know what's going on a day-to-day basis, but it keeps it fun.
Well, let's go look at some other things.
Let's do it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
The world has changed a lot in 50 years, and Kimley Haygood has changed with it. We still provide our customers with the highest level of service, whether it's financing, construction management, property management and maintenance, leasing, or sales. Our team is here to help you make the best decisions with your real estate.
Interdisciplinary education that gets real about the real world, that's the new think. It isn't a tagline, it's a philosophy wrapped in red and white. It is Eastern Washington and you. Interdisciplinary education that gets real about the real world, that's the new think. It isn't a tagline, it's a philosophy wrapped in red and white. It is Eastern Washington and you.
This is River Ridge Frame Shop, called Frame It Today, where we can take your art, customize it, and get it ready to hang on the wall. Here at River Ridge Hardware, 2803 West Garland.
Well, welcome to the Pulse of Spokane. Kent Adams here, and I hope you're having a wonderful day and looking forward to as we move into spring and so forth, which is a time to do some exploration, if you will. And for those of us that are over 50 and kind of getting into that ancient time period. I'm ancient. At almost 76, I'm ancient. But folks that are getting older, me included, there's an event coming up in another week or so. We're going to talk about that after this.
At Eastern Washington University, biologists
You threw
are
me off
harnessing
because-
gut microbes to build stronger bees. Composers are writing music to help us understand how salmon migrate. And geology joins forces with robotics to explore innovative solutions for climate change. An interdisciplinary education that gets real about the real world, that's the new thing. It isn't a tagline, it's a philosophy wrapped in red and white. It is Eastern Washington and you.
Well, welcome to the aging process. You're watching it right here at almost 76, okay? Someone said, why don't you retire? Well, I did, but I failed at it too. But there are a lot of things that are going on. And one of the things is to come up to, in a couple of weeks, a senior, say it again?
It's the Active Living Expo.
Active living, okay. There's a reason that you're saying it's active, because you want us to be active.
Yes.
Jennifer Evans, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank
Good.
you.
We're back to doing some
I know.
in-person things.
I
was going
know.
to say live, but even some of the things that you've done with events and so forth can be live with
Yeah.
using Zoom and everything else.
Yeah.
So in person, have you had many in-person things recently?
We've had a few. I think the most remarkable, excuse me, I was thrilled to be included by the YWCA. They did their Women of Achievement
Just
luncheon.
recently?
Yeah,
Yeah.
900 people.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. I don't think I have ever hugged that many people in Spokane in one day in my life.
Yeah.
It was
And everybody
such-
loved it, right?
It was so exciting.
Yes.
All these different people that you were networked and connecting with and
Yeah.
haven't seen in 2
I
years.
don't know about you, but I walked into rooms with meetings and things like that, and people wearing the mask
Mm-hmm.
that we've experienced the last couple of years. And sometimes I've looked at who is that person down at the end of the
Oh, yeah.
table? Yeah. Or we've passed them on the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hi, Kent. And I'm going, okay. I know you're a guy by your outfit, but I don't have, in my mind, I'm going, I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
But, oh, hi, how are you? You kind of fake it for a
Yeah.
while. Now we don't have to fake it. We see people
Yes,
in person.
it's been so exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's fun. Although you really invented a good way of doing things remotely, and were very successful with that, weren't you?
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
And, for the right event, it makes sense
Yes.
to be virtual or hybrid. And then there's some you just want to wait on
Yeah.
to be back in person. And this is actually one of those
So
events.
let's talk about what this is
Yeah.
that's coming up,
Yeah.
because it is for my age group and older.
Yeah, so the Spokesman Review has hosted this event, supposed to be annually, but we've
Yes.
been on pause. We were almost there in 2020
Yeah.
and had to cancel. So we're back. This event is for folks that are 55 and up, living an active, healthy lifestyle.
Okay.
And boy, does that bring together some really amazing people and businesses in Spokane.
Yeah, tell me about some of the vendors that are going to be there, because I've
Yeah.
seen the list and some fun things.
It really is. So
Yeah.
Multicare buys off as our title sponsor.
Okay.
I should say buys into the event
Yes.
because they really appreciate that.
Right.
We get everything from retirement communities wanting to showcase their cooking and the exciting things that they have in terms of programs. We have everything from Pilates workouts, other fitness groups,
Do you have things for non-fitness
Sport
people?
Rec. Yes, we sure do. There's always a chance to talk about food and all sorts of fun activities.
Now, one of the things that you did during the course of the pandemic was a lot of cooking at home.
Yes, I
Right?
did. Yeah.
Are you seeing more interest now because we were all cooking at home for at least for weeks there and so forth? Is there? Will that be covered in the event?
Well, not this time. Last time we did have a piece on that because one of the things that happens as we age, and I know at 50 I'm experiencing
Oh,
this,
yeah,
when the
you're
kids
so old.
Well, but the kids are leaving, and it's different when you're cooking for one or for two.
Yes.
So we did feature that last year. This time we'll have to feature that in a different way.
Okay.
But I know that Revel Spokane, a retirement community
Right.
in Spokane Valley, wants to come in and again showcase their chef who will be cooking and doing a live demonstration right in their booth all day.
Fun. I read just today, I think, or yesterday, that the retirement community is kind of getting back on its feet, and that some are really full, some never really lost that many folks and so forth. But that industry is now, more people, I think, kind of stayed at home. And while it was safe at most retirement communities,
Yes.
I don't want to say it wasn't, but people kind of stayed at home, and now they can get a good price for their home and move
Right.
into something. So there's a lot of that going on now.
Well, and it's exciting, and I love drawing attention to the kinds of activities that places like that do.
Yes.
My mother-in-law was in actually Revel before she moved out of the area, and my daughter and I went to visit her, and my daughter saw the list of activities for the day on the wall, and she said, "Mom, this is like college."
Yeah. I was going to say, I want to do some of those.
Yeah. So bringing that to everybody. So maybe you're not in a retirement community, but you want to learn more about the kind of things we need to be educated on. So we have speakers who are talking about Angels Senior Care. We'll be talking about long-term care and how to take care of that at home. We get confused by things. Medicare is always complicated. So Providence has a division that focuses just on that. And so they'll be there to talk about how to walk you through that maze of Medicare.
Yes.
And then
I remember going through that, and it was a confusing time,
It really
honestly.
is.
What should I do and not do and so forth.
and having somebody to mentor you through that and is right there in front of you
Yeah.
is just wonderful.
Good.
Elder Law is doing a whole piece on why you should have your plan in place.
Yes.
So there's really great education as well as fun things too.
Yeah. Kind of a one-stop shopping.
It's really exciting. So we have almost 50 vendors
Wow.
who will be at the Davenport Grand on that day. The whole show's open from 10 to 4 p.m.
Okay.
But then we've broken out with speakers too. So the ones I just mentioned, and then Multicare, actually, if they couldn't settle on one doc, they're bringing a team of docs,
Oh,
all
fun.
orthopedic docs. I have to laugh, the last time we did this event in person, the orthopedic specialist who came in, he had his own fan club.
Oh, fun.
He had patients who know him and loved him,
Yeah.
came and sat in on his talk. So this time I can only imagine what will happen with a trio.
Yes.
But, they'll give a talk on making sure your joints are working and that you can keep
Yes.
staying active and avoid injury and avoid
Yes.
problems. So it's perfect. We have a tidying artist. She is certified in the Marie Kondo? Just how to organize your home. And especially as you're downsizing.
Oh,
What
we
do you
don't want to
keep?
do
What do you
that.
get rid of?
Our kids keep saying, when are you going to get rid of this and get rid of that? And my wife and I look at each other. We're not. We're leaving it all, and you guys figure it out. But there is a rhyme and reason to be prepared
yeah.
and make sure things go to the right people and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, just getting rid of the things that don't, and I know this method, that don't spark joy.
Yes.
And if it's just weighing you down, go. So we've got
One more thing in the basement.
Yes.
And we have so many one more things in the basement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she'll help us with that. I think the one I'm most excited about, in fact, when I talked to the speaker on the phone, I put her on speakerphone and I tapped the wall next door. My husband was home and I said, I sure hope someone's listening.
Hint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Breakwater Expeditions. And so they're going to be talking about all the group tours and
sure.
fun places, the rafting,
Yeah.
kayak trips, all the different things that they
And
do.
the key
So-
is to do a lot of that while you can, because
Yes.
it does get tougher to do
Yes.
as you get older.
Yeah.
We've seen that with our parents and grandparents
Yeah.
and everything else and so
Yeah.
forth. So, okay. So what are the dates?
It's April 23rd. It's a Saturday.
Okay.
From 10 to 4 at the Davenport Grand downtown.
Okay. And is there a cost?
There is. It's $7. Really easy entry, right?
$7?
We don't want there to be a barrier to entry.
No, that's really good price. Yes.
Yeah, and if you're a subscriber of the Spokesman, and I believe we've given that information, you can get a 2-for-1 ticket.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. In case you know another person.
Yeah.
Like your
In
spouse or something. So you taking Pat?
Oh, yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked. He'll be playing live music.
Okay. Well, I was wondering, one, if you got him to go,
Yeah.
and two, if you got him to play music.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
okay.
was funny. He said, well, I'd love to be there anyway, so why don't I just pack up
That's
stuff
great.
and be playing music.
That's
So, yeah,
great.
he'll be playing live music.
Well, I'm excited. Number one, just that we start to have events again
I know.
in the community, that we can see our friends.
Yeah.
We can see others that maybe we just haven't seen and we don't know them, but other people that are coming out
Yeah.
too. And
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the restaurants fill up again and so
Right.
forth. We're starting to live again.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
exciting.
It is. So look in the Spokesman review.
Yes.
That would be the place to go. My guess is you might have a website.
It's all through the Spokesman review.
All through the
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then that makes it
And
really simple.
Their Spokane 7 website has
Okay.
that talks about local events, has all the information.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. That'll be a fun event.
I can hardly wait. I'm excited.
Jennifer, good to see you.
You too,
Keep up the
Kent.
good work,
Thank
okay?
you.
All right. Thanks for watching the Pulse of Spokane, everybody. See you there, okay?
Are you looking for something generational, timeless, with historical truth? Then We the People Interactive Calendar is right for you, designed for the generations. With over hundreds of historical dates and funny cartoons, We the People Calendar makes the perfect conversation starter about America's history, what the founders intended, and why it's important today. Our mission is to expand conversations as we all learn together in our pursuit of truths. Let us add to the legacy of our ancestors. To get started, scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen and begin your conversation today.
Starting a digging project? Before you reach for the shovel, you must click callbeforeyoudig.org, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. Protect our buried utilities and click callbeforeyoudig.org.
The world has changed a lot in 50 years, and Kimley Haygood has changed with it. We still provide our customers with the highest level of service, whether it's financing, construction management, property management and maintenance, leasing, or sales. Our team is here to help you make the best decisions with your real estate.
Hello, I'm Parker with Hope Neighborhood Coffee Roasters. Hope is a student-led professional coffee production here at the Hutton Settlement. To promote cultural awareness through country of origin studies with coffee farmers worldwide. And third, provide a sustainable funding for the Hutton Settlement education program.
Hi, my name is Roxanne. Please join us to nurture and educate Hutton youth by becoming a monthly coffee subscriber. You can visit us by going to www.huttonsettlement.org and click on the About Us page. Thank you.